Let's go. Rocking my shirt tonight. I'm so fired up to be with you. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What's up, Michael? What's up, Heartland? What's up, Valenti? What's up, Jared? We have a lot to get to. Obviously, a lot of you are excited about the Walker Howard film study for tomorrow. I'm also really excited that the New Orleans Pelicans are going to get the number one overall pick, but we're here tonight to talk about LSU football, starting off, of course, with this idea. We did the poll, John Emery or Ty Davis Price, who's going to be RB1 in 2021. And the hardest thing for me is, whenever you're talking about this LSU team, this LSU offense, this LSU identity, whatever it may be next season, I just think we are looking at two diametrically different offenses for next season with Miles Brennan and Max Johnson as the quarterback. And honestly, I look at John Emery and I look at Ty Davis Price. I think both running backs are better running backs when they are not running out of shotgun. And it's very interesting as we say hi to Nick, we say hi to Michael, we say hi to Clint, we say hi to Mario. It's so interesting because they are so far ahead of the one running back I like the most on this roster. And I want you guys to hold me to this opinion. I think Armani Goodwin's special. I think out of all four of the big names, including Corey Kiner, who I think is also really good, was shotgun. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with Armani Goodwin, Corey Kiner, and obviously whoever the running back will be next season, whoever will be starting next season for LSU. So, I just think it's going to be so hard for a guy like Armani Goodwin to come in without the spring ball and just take over the starter's role. But I think out of the two, it's interesting because Ty Davis Price in both year one and year two outperformed John Emery definitely in terms of yardage, definitely in year one. But I think it's also clear that Ty Davis Price doesn't necessarily wow you with anything. Obviously, his ceiling is a little bit more limited than John Emery. I just think of the two of them, it's going to be hard because I saw a comment earlier today from Anlo, one of our, best viewers. And he was like, it's going to be a thunder and lightning kind of thing, which would be very plausible if LSU still ran a thunder and lightning type of offense. So whenever I hear the term thunder and lightning, I think in order to have a thunder and lightning at running back, you need to run a run-based attack, which is something LSU doesn't do anymore. Now, of course, in the past, LSU has had plenty of thunder and lightning. They've had, of course, you look at the 07 team, where they had 5 different running backs with at least 35 carries. And all 5 of them were diametrically different running backs. Then, of course, you moved to 2011, where you had 4 or 5 running backs there. And then, of course, you look even past that, LSU has had, quite a few players that broke out. That wasn't even the 4th or 5th string back. Take Jeremy Hill back in 2012. So it's also interesting because Freddie brings up a very interesting name, Josh Williams. Josh Williams, or if you want to go really deep cut, Corin Norman and Nick Demas, who I think we can all agree won't play next season. But they did play a huge role in the spring, and Nick Demas in the spring game. So it's very interesting. We had a WME, one of our loyal viewers. Ty Davis Price seems to have more power and bruising inside, while John Emery is a north-south speeder with less size. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. But it's interesting, though, because we associate Ty Davis Price as the short yardage back. And, of course, he didn't have the best blocking in front of him. But on top of that, Ty Davis Price did not convert many short yardage situations. Now, a lot of that had to do with play design. A lot of that has to do with the lack of ability from Miles Brennan as a runner in those first couple of games. And then, you saw Ty Davis Price play better in the Florida game when he had a runner in Max Johnson hold defensive ends, which, of course, opens up holes in the running game. Now, Nick wants to get into some running back recruiting. It's interesting how, Trevor Etienne. Will LSU get an Etienne? I think we're just so caught up in, will LSU ever land a Manning? But I think a more interesting question, because he is 2022, is, will LSU land an Etienne? I just think it's really hard if you're Trevor Etienne and your brother is one of the best players to ever play at Clemson. It would be really hard to not go to Clemson. However, Clemson's backfield is pretty stacked up. They have that Will Shipley 5-star back that's coming in. So, yeah, it's interesting. Jason, that's such a good point. We got to get this running game started. So, obviously, I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about the future of LSU football at the running back position. And it is interesting. LSU, I do think in the cycle, needs to land one running back, maybe two. I don't know. I've gone back and forth over how many running backs LSU needs to bring in for this next cycle. My favorite number would be exactly one, though. One is good. It just depends who that's going to be. Whether that's Trevante Citizen, whether that is Marlon Gunn. Freddie, we never talk about Marlon Gunn out of Scotlandville, the pride of Kelvin Joseph. The pride. Who else is from Scotlandville? Give me a few more Scotland. So we'll see what happens. Valente, if you're still watching, obviously I'm not able to watch the lottery tonight. Let me know what I can get, baby. So obviously, we're going to talk about some defensive backs tonight, recruiting some DBs. I'm obviously really excited about that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Travis Etienne. Did I murder his last name? Etienne. So we'll see what happens. What's up, Michael? What's up, Kane? Let's see. Yeah, Big Allen, then there's the idea, will he stay in his shadow? Let's see. What's up, Jonathan? Good to hear you, man. Yeah, it's very fascinating. Bro just opened up so many things. And on top of that, it was also very fascinating. Clyde Edwards-Helaire would just open up his own holes. It's crazy, in that Florida game in particular. Obviously, the Alabama game is always going to be his best game, but the Florida game was very fascinating. What's up, Nick? How you doing? I started, and this is, what's fascinating? We're talking about in the title. You see recruiting defensive backs. So
Is that better?
Oh yeah, it's perfect, baby.
Was the connection bad?
Well, yeah, and then I was just hot. Plus, I just like the door being open.
Okay. We're
We're packing on the road to Dallas to go pick up the new pup. I'm excited. Saturday night. Y'all better be here. Saturday
It'll
night.
be late.
It will be late.
Just forewarning, my niece's surprise party does not start till 7.
Well, don't say it. She could be watching.
Delaney is not watching.
Delaney, I don't say. Haley, if she's watching, she
Babe,
wouldn't.
she's not watching you. I can promise with full heart.
I know, but we have a viral audience. She could be watching. One of her friends could be watching.
I doubt it.
I do doubt it. We are excited. Jonathan, can it be weird for me to tell you about my career? Is that what you're asking? Well, Jonathan, here's what we'll do about that. This channel is about LSU football. I try not to, obviously we talk about the dog and Haley and I and all that stuff. So I think it's very important, but I feel as if we get into like my what I've done in my career can get boring. So here's what I'll do, Jonathan. If you super chat, I'll go into it because we've yet to get a super chat yet. But if you do super chat, I'll give you my full background on my entire career. Okay. It's about myself, but this is all about LSU football, baby, and the new puppy. So yeah, we're really excited about that. Haley and I have been talking about that. We are so pumped up to go pick her up. So we're going to Dallas tomorrow, and we do have the Walker Howard film study tomorrow at 5:30 Central. I need you guys for that study. And we actually broke it up into 2 parts. So part 1 will be tomorrow at 5:30. And every time I watch this guy, I pick up on something new. And what's very interesting about Walker Howard compared to when I watched Garrett Nussmeier, who's they are very different quarterbacks. Walker Howard, and albeit this is just 1 year of his tape, what makes him very fascinating to me is in his tape, I've never seen a high school recruit at quarterback committed to LSU that has the most translatable college skill set as Walker Howard. And this will be a common theme with St. Thomas More, obviously. What's up, Kari? Good to hear from you, man. And we'll get to Azariah Thomas in just a second, Nick. Remind me of that. Tyler, I forgot. Tyler, you are the president. Michael with the first super chat. Let's have a power hour tailgate this season. So we'll go straight to that because, Michael, you are the first super chat. So we are working on that. Haley and I, we want to do it, obviously. Now, obviously, she would have to be there. But because she wants to see you guys. It was crazy because I've gotten to meet a few of you. Now, obviously, I got to meet Roger. I got to meet Roger recently. Oh, good, Jared. Or Jonathan, excuse me. Jonathan, here's the thing. Whenever you ask about a dog, we'll talk about dogs, okay? But about me, it's about LSU football. You guys are here to hear me talk about LSU football. And here's what I'll do, Jonathan. We'll get in, if you are very curious, we'll get into it about, just remind me in about an hour. Okay, but if you super chat, we'll go straight to it. Now, Michael super chat, he wants to have a power hour LSU tailgate this season. We are aiming for the Central Michigan game. I think that would be a very fun game to tailgate. It's a for sure night game. It's a for sure victory. And here's the thing. On SEC games, I just get a little too intense, as you guys know. And it's not intense like I get as mad or as sad as I used to be when we lose. It's more intense because, I'm trying to pick up on every last little thing. Because going live after just watching the game all the way through and then just going right after, it's really hard because, as you guys know, we do these deep film studies on here where we're trying to break down every last little thing. So I guarantee you the Walker Howard film study tomorrow, we are breaking down everything. We're breaking down his statistics for that game, what was going through his mind when he made different throws, and we make his best guesses. And the truth is, the way he processes information is just different. He's different. Yeah, Jonathan, it sucks, but we are getting the new puppy, and it's weird. And this is fascinating to go along with Michael's saying about the Power Hour LSU tailgate. You guys were also getting the what?
Suitcase out.
Oh, getting the suitcase, packing up. So this was also very interesting. Is that when I was going to what was I going to say? Okay, so last night was the first time on my personal social media accounts that I made an announcement about Boog. And you guys, even before Haley's friends, you guys were actually the first to know about Boog passing. So, that's how close you guys have become to us, and we love you guys. So obviously, we want to do a Power Hour LSU tailgate or something like that. Freddie wants to talk about the Catholic High cheating scandal. We have a few Catholic High alums in the chat right now. Look, a good portion of my family went to Catholic High. we know at certain schools they recruit athletes or whatever. We don't know the full story. I'm not Robin Fambro, like an elite high school football journalist, or Jared Roser. They will probably know way more about this than I do. But it's fascinating considering all the success that they've had in the last, 5 to 10 seasons. And their coach, who I like a lot, Gabe Fertitta, he's really talented, goes to Louisville. And, it is what it is. I just don't know too much about it. So, yeah. Nick wants to talk about Azariah Thomas. Look, it's in the title, recruiting defensive backs. This is how I feel about defensive backs moving forward. I feel as if recruiting defensive backs have been far more important than ever before. And what we tend to forget sometimes as, LSU fans, and we bring this up on different live streams, is that you are a product of your conference, meaning so much of the success of your team comes down to who is in your conference. Bottom line, okay? The way we view Arkansas football would be completely different if they were playing Pac-12 competition. They would not be nearly as bad as if they were in the Pac-12. It's just the truth. And the same thing is true when it comes to the perspective of an LSU fan, because the conference is now so pass heavy. It is far more important to recruit as many great defensive backs as you possibly can, because there is an unlimited amount of defensive backs you can have on your team. Take last season, all right? I understand that we had the greatest team of all time in 2019, and we lost Grant Delpit, and we lost Christian Fulton, and we didn't expect Kerry Vincent to opt out. Well, we still barely had enough elite corners to field a team last season, where we were playing Darren Evans, who had just gotten to the program a few weeks before the Mississippi State game. So the thing is, the Mississippi State game was a good example. And thank goodness Elias Ricks was able to play day one, which is obviously very rare. It is so hard to keep up your defensive back depth, to the point where you have to understand moving forward, you're going to need at least, and this is a bare minimum, at least 5 defensive backs on the field at all times. 5, okay? And that doesn't include that your linebackers now have to be safety hybrid type of linebackers. So whenever you hear one of our great viewers here, Nick, talk about Azariah Thomas, well, he's one of these types of athletes that is not only a great defensive back, he's an elite wide receiver at a Niceville, Florida, where Kimo McAnioli is from, apparently. And he's really good. I watched his film earlier today, and the thing I like about him compared to, let's say, Mark, his film shows him playing a lot of press man coverage, where he's lined up on wide receiver, right up on, which is what LSU likes to do. And Corey Raymond loves long corners. Well, because you need so many defensive backs, you got to get as many as you possibly can. You really do. And the more I think about it, the more I like the Major Burns pickup, because so much of discussion a few months ago was all about, well, do we want to save the slot for a potential offensive lineman? Do we want to save the slot for this position or that position? By far, the most important thing is, from this point where we are now, the SEC has become more pass heavy instead of less. And you also got to take a look at who we're playing over the next decade or so. We're playing Clemson twice. We're playing Oklahoma twice. We're playing a lot of great programs that can stretch the field. So our recruiting framework needs to center around this idea. Our assets are better spent on guys that can affect the passing game in a major way. So if Azariah Thomas commits, that's huge. It's absolutely huge. And just keep that in mind. So it is what it is. Okay, we go to Jonathan here. Okay, I'm very happy about this super chat. Okay, we have to talk about what the Supreme Court decision means going forward. Not to mention the name, image, and likeness. What's up, Esteban? How you doing? I agree the players need more, but I'm afraid of how it changes the game I love. Okay, Jonathan. So here's what I'm going to do. First thing, as far as this is concerned, I am not an expert in this. All right. I think the most important thing whenever you do a channel that is all perspective based like this channel is you need to be honest about certain things you don't know a whole lot about. And this is something that I know a decent amount about, but I'm not, I'm not an expert on this. Now, what I will say, Jonathan, is that I did speak to a lawyer. Her name is Maddie Salamoni, and she came on a radio show that I did on ESPN Upstate. I was filling in doing some ESPN radio work, and I spoke to her about this on and off the air for quite a bit. So we did like a 20-minute radio segment. And the first thing we need to understand is that what we have to, and it's going to sound kind of weird, but the college football business model, Jonathan, is very strange. What's up, Larry from Hawaii? Or Larry back from Hawaii? Larry, I'm still jealous you didn't take me to Hawaii. So the first thing, Jonathan, is the college football business model is weird. Okay, if I did an interview with the College Football Podcast from England recently. They just posted on YouTube, and I was the first ever guest. So they had just launched it. And it's so strange to me, in the podcast host knew a lot about college footballs. But anyway, when I speak to people that aren't familiar with college football, my friends at Kamari who don't know a lot about it, or friends overseas or whatever, they find the whole sport to be so strange that these guys are not professional athletes, that, millions of dollars are produced and the athletes are considered amateurs, which is, what's up, Jawan? Good to see you, man. Don't just pop in, hang out, brother. So that's obviously the most important thing, is this business model is so strange. Now, your question more so focuses on if the game will change. The answer, Jonathan, is I don't know. I honestly don't know. We don't know how this is going to affect the sport moving forward. But what we do know is when your business model is archaic, it is eventually going to get better. We've seen this just, in all sorts of business models. Oh, Tyler, I'm going to get to this as well. Who is on a bigger hot seat, Kirby Smart or Coach Orgeron? I like that question, Tyler. We'll get to that in a second. But the bottom line is, obviously, these kids get paid under the table. They should get paid just normally. I don't see what's so bad about a kid signing autographs. And I honestly think this is going to help out women's sports in many ways. A lot of these gymnasts and softball players have huge followings on social media. So, they'll get to do these sponsored tweets and all these different things. So I don't think that the framework of the sport is just going to go down. I just think the most important thing is is the money going to go to the players, or is there a sponsor that would sponsor LSU and then instead they will just give Garrett Nussmeier the money or whatever? We don't know. We don't know how the business model is going to change, but I honestly think, Jonathan, it's going to be fine. I really do. You're only getting every other word. Yellow. I don't know why it's doing that. How's it sound now? Let me see. Jacoby, Kamari, Laterrence. Yeah, that'd be a great class. It just depends, Nick, on Kendrick Law. Oh, it's back now? Okay. It's good? I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see. It just depends on how you view Kendrick Law, Nick. Are you good? Okay, so there you go. Reset the video. All right, Tyler, we'll get to your super chat now. So hopefully that answers your question, Jonathan. Once again, it's not my strongest suit because, it's just not. It's obviously very complex. I go back and forth on it. I think one more thing, Jonathan, that I think will affect some players. Let's talk about this. I just hired a financial advisor, and he's about my age, ironically. And he was telling me like how bad school systems teach, just even in high school, financial literacy. Our school systems fail us. And I just think in high school, even, financial literacy will go a long way. Well, Kedrick, thank you for your Cash App. I appreciate that. No interruptions there, James. Okay, perfect. All right, so Tyler says, I've seen more people referring to Coach O on the hot seat than Kirby Smart recently. Why is it that people think Kirby is a better coach? I'd personally rather a championship every 5 years than be relevant every year with no ring to show for it. Just my thoughts. Okay. So, thank you for your super chat. I deeply appreciate you. Let's see. So let me ask this question. It was obviously, a question that was brought up on a stream, on our last stream. Is Coach O on the hot seat? And I don't think so. I think the team would have to go like 3-9, which is something that's just not going to happen. Your question, more so, and Marcus, you're right. I'm tired of baseball talk as well. Your question more so surrounds Kirby Smart on the hot seat. And the answer to that is I can't speak on behalf of Georgia fans. I do think this should be a year Georgia is going to the college football playoff. Even though they lost George Pickens, their team is just really loaded. I do think JT Daniels, to think that he is an elite college quarterback, I'm not so sure about that. Look, we have a really small sample size of JT Daniels, and you look at the teams that he went up against. Does Georgia beat Florida if JT Daniels is their quarterback? Obviously, we don't know the answer to that question, but I'm not totally sold on JT Daniels. But as far as Coach O being on a hotter seat than Kirby Smart, I just don't think either one of them's really on the hot seat. When you're recruiting top 5 nationally, it's hard to fire a coach. It's really hard because obviously administrators will tell you this. The most important thing are the players. And if you keep bringing in top 5 national classes, it wouldn't make it makes no sense to get rid of a coach. Now, if Ed Orgeron has some games like last season where the team doesn't improve or we keep making the same mistakes as we make game to game, then maybe. But overall, last season, even though the record wasn't great, the team did begin to play better. A&M, our defense finally came together. Then, we had the Max Johnson. Then we had Kayshawn. And, it got better. Some of that was by default. I think Cam Wire being inserted into the lineup. I thought Cam, I go back to this. Cam Wire brings a lot of energy to that offensive line. He not a whole lot of tread on the tires, a kid that 3-star to Gonzalez. This is a Cam Wire stan channel. I love me some Cam Wire. So we'll see. But Tyler, I just don't think it's anything to really worry too much about. And obviously, Nick, as Nick mentions, Clemson can easily blow the brakes off of Georgia. Alan says if last year's D was even mediocre, we would have won 8 games. Yeah, it probably would have been 6 or 7. 8 is pretty generous. But there's no doubt about it, Alan. They would have been better. Actually, 8, you might have something here. So Mississippi State, yes. But I can also argue if the offensive line was just slightly better versus Mississippi State, we probably would have won that game regardless. So, yeah, Kedrick, you dropped a nice cash. Okay, get to the next topic. Kedrick said he hated this topic. So, you got to get that up with Tyler. I think Tyler was asking, though, a very generous question about hot seats. I just don't see Ed Orgeron on the hot seat. However, there's some things that I think need to get fixed. And one that really baffled me looking at LSU last season and going through some film was a lot of the experienced guys on the team, just there was just such bad regression. Like I saw, some of that was the new system. Some of that was just championship hangover. But I was just really shocked with how bad some of our returning guys struggled last season. Tyler says Kirby is widely referred to as a better coach than Coach O. That guy's literally won absolutely nothing. I don't get it. Is that true, though? Is Kirby thought of as a better coach? I don't know. I'd have to read blogs, I guess. I don't know. What does Athlon? I know Athlon does a coach list every season. Do they have Kirby over Ed Orgeron? I don't know. I thought Kirby Smart made a colossal, and I mean colossal, coaching error last season against Cincinnati, timeout management-wise. But he got bailed out because Luke Fickell then made a colossal error, not going for it and winning the game there. So, yeah. Yeah, Reed, I agree with you. We both been saying it, man. Our return game doesn't impress me. Do we need a new special teams coach? Okay, you want to talk some Greg McMahon? Obviously, let's go to Kendrick. Why would Coach O be in the hot seat? He just won a natty not even 2 years ago. Yeah, Kendrick, I don't think Tyler was saying Coach O should be on the hot seat. I think it was more so saying, why are people saying he's on the hot seat? So, yeah, obviously, Kendrick, a lot comes down to this season, though. A lot comes down to where you start questioning whether or not, you should make a move. Because I think if this roster with, let's see, there's obviously 3 bona fide NFL stars on this roster. And obviously a lot of experience. With this roster, if you don't win at least 8 or 9 games, you let's say LSU goes 7-6 last season or next season. Then, do you discuss? A lot of the LSU fan base hates Coach O. Is that true? I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Do they? I mean, do they? I mean, I don't know. No, just let Scott Woodward hire the staff. Well, it just depends. I've heard this plenty of times. Who really hired Bo Pelini? Okay, and there's been some rumors that it was Scott Woodward that hired Bo Pelini, or it wasn't Ed Orgeron's decision to hire Bo Pelini. I don't know. You go back and forth over who hires who, and you get into the semantics of that. And some of it, Alan, is that too. Whether or not people want to admit it, they just think us from Louisiana are just stupid because of the Cajun accent. So yeah, that's part of it as well. But this is the thing. If LSU doesn't, and like I said, the bare minimum wins for me is I hope LSU. If you go, let me ask you this, Kedrick. If LSU goes 8-5, what do you do? Do you keep everything as is, or is there anything different that happens? Or I don't know. Woodward did not hire Pelini. Yeah, once again, you begin to ask questions. All I know is that from the get-go, the Bo Pelini hiring just did not make any sense. Let's see. If not for Joe Brady, we don't have the Natty. Not Coach O, but Coach O was the one that hired Joe Brady. Let's see. So, Kedrick, once again, get your question in. Let's see.
I turned it off. Is it better?
Yeah. Let's see. Alex, thank you for your super chat. 28 days until I ship to boot camp. Go Tigers. Where are you going, Alex? Let me know where you're going. Which is the biggest trap game on our schedule? Great question. And I think the easy answer is obviously the game that gives me the biggest heebie-jeebies next season is by far, and there's not really a close second here, is Ole Miss. The Ole Miss game just scares the living bejesus out of me for a lot of different reasons, Alex. And there you go. Michael said the same thing. The Ole Miss game, where it is on the schedule, obviously stinks. You do have to go to Oxford. That's the 8th game on the schedule. So that will be the 8th consecutive week. That's always tough. You look back to the 2019 LSU team. They only really the 2019 LSU team only played one game where, they just weren't. It was just a bad game. And that was Auburn in 2019. And that was in the same spot of the schedule where, the 8th game of the year, where it's, you play all these games in a row, those games begin to accumulate, and it's just really hard to put an elite product in and out. So, yeah, I think for me, Alex, you're going to the Army. That's fantastic. Cool stuff. Good luck with boot camp, man. Obviously, this is a big military channel. We have a lot of former military. I know Cliff was a USMC. So yeah. I don't know what I'm saying this. I don't understand. I don't get it. But it looks good. It looks like fun. I don't know why I'm getting this message though. But still. Hearing good things about Armani Goodwin. I like that. So, yeah. We got Air Force. Okay, well, that's cool. USMC. Watch afterward. Yeah, I will. I don't know what it is. We have nothing running. Let's see. Goodwin doesn't eat the weight room. Yeah, and then, his junior season. The thing that concerns me about Armani Goodwin is, he was hurt his junior season. And then, obviously the senior season was like a weird year. So we'll see if he gets the full season, of reps. Let's see here. Let's pull up this right here and get a Friendly reminder, if you've not gotten your PHL shirt yet, go ahead and click that link. I know Cliff is part of the PHL shirt club. Jared, let's go. Jared's part of the PHL shirt club. So go ahead and click that link, get you a shirt. You know you want it. You can rep it anywhere. You can rep it to work. I know a lot of you, ironically, especially Big Al and Jared, you live in Alabama. Matt, you're in Baton Rouge, man. You could wear this shirt wherever you want. Love it. Well, Alex, you got it. So, yeah, the Ole Miss game. The Ole Miss game is by far the weirdest game. Going up against Lane Kiffin. Obviously, LSU got the better of Lane Kiffin last year. And, Lane Kiffin and Edwards are honor friends. It's a friendly little rivalry there. So, it's obviously would be a matchup Lane would want to win. Lane's got a really good quarterback at Matt Corral. And Matt Corral is a far better quarterback just based on the limited sample we had last season. He's a far better quarterback at home. So, yeah, I love me. Ole Miss defensively still has a lot to be desired. But the week before we do play Florida and then to pack up and go on the road to Oxford. And then, you got the bye week and then Alabama. One thing you got to factor in as well is, health. You got to factor in injuries. We're not going to have the same team we have now when week 8 comes around. So, yeah, Jared, you wear that thing in Alabama. You tell them, baby. Yeah. Well, Matt, keep up the weight loss, baby. Let's go. You got this, man. Oh, you lost 60 in 4 months? Round of applause to. Congratulations to you, Matt. That's big time, brother. Larry Warriors in Hawaii? Oh, Larry, that would have been the perfect. Larry, please tell me you took a photo in your shirt in Hawaii. I love it, Larry. Now, he went on vacation in Hawaii, and he said he repped the PHL shirt in Hawaii, baby. There we go. I could see Larry in some flip-flops, knocking down some pina coladas. Oh, they loved it? There we go. 2 pina coladas for 1 for each hand. Top 5 Gar song for you right there. Well, that second one out, man. There we just had someone buy a shirt. There we go. Raymond. Raymond. Good stuff right there. So, Raymond, comment the question that you want to get to. Oh, Eric. About time. Eric, I was just thinking about you because obviously we had Tyler earlier, who, by the way, dropped another super chat. Okay. Tyler dropped another super chat, and he's the president of the Garrett Nussmeier fan club. And Eric, you are the vice president. Poe, you overslept? Oh, come on, Poe. Everyone shout out Eric. Air Force Base, one of our many military members on this channel. I'm telling you, our channel is, so much military. I love it. Oh, Kenneth, you did both Navy and Air Force? I think the more interesting question is who of you is not in the military? It is wild. It's absolutely wild. It's really cool, too. Esteban says Colin Baton Rouge is the number 1 Gar song. Yeah, Esteban, but, I mean, we're biased towards that song. That's too, you know what I'm saying, Esteban? You can't. It's not. I mean, that's what. I don't know. I just think that's cliche. I hate cliche. Oh, you retire next year, Kenneth. That's cool. So Esteban, that's obviously really cool. Oh, so Matt, you want to serve in the military too, and you're losing weight. 300 now and decreasing. I know, Kane. I'm glad that you said that. We are the cowards. Well, all these lovely viewers are the ones that actually serve. That's cool stuff. Yeah, you're considering? Well, there you go, Matt. See, Nick says Nuss, Walker, and Dante. I wouldn't look too much into the Holstein to Texas A&M thing. I just wouldn't do it. You know, it's still so early for the 2023 class. A&M's got a quarterback committed for the 2022 that's also a 5-star. And Connor Weidman, whatever his name is, he's really good. I really enjoyed watching him play. He and Walker are actually very similar quarterbacks. But yeah, you know, I'm not worried too much about the 2023 quarterbacks as far as their leans or whatever, whether that's Arch, whether that's Walker or whoever. Coast Guard. I spent last night. Yeah, that's true. Poe, thank you for the super chat, even though you overslept. But yeah, you know, Nick, I wouldn't look too much into that. For a while, I was told Holstein is going to Ohio State. Pelicans got the 10th pick. Man, why don't we just get the number 1 pick every year? That's the only fair thing. There you go, Poe. Well, you get to pick the topic. That's the cool thing about the super chat is whenever you hop on, you get to immediately pick the topic if you drop a super chat. So, Poe, whatever you want to talk about, we go we go straight to it. That's wild, Big Al. That's wild. Jimmy Carter was POTUS when I went to boot camp, and Reagan was elected when I was there. That's crazy. Big Al, that's really cool, man. Yeah, Eric, but you could be the Orlando Magic and never get anyone. Well, you don't get anyone since T-Mac, but yeah. We'll get into some NBA talk a little bit later. Let's see. Yeah, Grant, we got to find a coach. We got to find somebody. Osama, do you think Daronte Jones will land Kamari Wilson? No, I don't think Kamari is an LSU guy. I just don't. Yeah, what's up, man?
I think I should probably bring this for the road.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, bring it. I just don't think. Yeah, I mean they've gotten Magic and they gotten Shaq, T-Mac, and they chose what's his name instead of Tatum a few years ago, which was dumb. Said at the time, Jason 6'9" and could shoot over anyone. And if you get a chance to get someone that's 6'9" and could shoot over anyone, take that chance. Unless his name was Darko Milicic. But yeah, everything I've read says Kamari Wilson to Georgia. But then, of course, Markelle Fultz. There it is. So, yeah, obviously, if he goes to LSU, it's a big land. I think LSU needs another safety in this class. And I keep going back to it. And I know that sounds so strange since LSU just brought in their best safety class ever with Derek Davis Jr., Sage Ryan, and Matthew Langlois. Legit, their best safety class, definitely their best since Delpit, Stevens, Harris.
You got some 5 hours in here?
Oh, no, I got some in that pantry.
No, you don't.
There's four in the pantry.
Since when?
It's been there. There's 4 or 5 hours right there in the middle of the pantry. I guarantee you, it's right in front of you. I promise you. I'll bet every super chat dollar. I'll bet every super chat dollar. No, I guarantee you, there's four sitting right there. There's 4 sitting right in the middle of the pantry.
Darling, I promise you, I just looked, baby.
Like the side thing. There's 4 sitting right there. There's exactly 4. There's a grape one. I know there's some right there, but there's a grape one. There's an orange one.
Well, I just want to make sure I have plenty. I'm trying to pack. If you didn't know, I have to pack it all. Look. Oh.
Wait, Cane's just tested its first drone delivery.
Oh, on God, they did?
Yeah. But Osama, I just think LSU, whether it's Kamari Wilson or Bryce Anderson, that'll be very nice to pick up another safety. And then also Mo Funky Osbury when he commits to LSU. I think LSU looks pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna go look, sweetie.
I promise you, it's gonna be. Okay. It's right.
We're gonna take the big blue ice chest too. I didn't get the other ice chest.
That's fine. It's the level underneath the crackers.
Okay.
It'll be 4. It's 4. It's a purple one. It's a grape one. It's one of those camouflage ones. Pell's got the number 10 pick, and I love the lottery. Who got the number 1 pick? This is the first year I've missed the lottery. I remember being in a Baton Rouge casino when Anthony Davis or the Pelicans got the number 1 pick for AD. So yeah. All right, Poe. Poe wants to talk about the offensive line. I'm happy to talk about the LSU offensive line and some Alex Adams. PHL dues for the president. I love it. Okay. So, Poe, you bring up Alex Adams. He's such an interesting prospect. First thing I'll say about him is I thought one thing that was really fascinating was LSU moved Alex Adams to safety. And then in spring practice, just a few days later, they moved him back to wide receiver. I think some of that was due to the wide receiver room getting a little thin during spring ball, ironically. I also think, for me, Alex Adams is a guy that can play wide receiver or safety. Obviously, he's out of Mississippi. He was a 3-star, a later add in the class of 2020. I've seen him in wide receiver drills. Obviously, he looks good. I thought Garrett Nussmeier missed him early in the game on a clear go route, and I think Nuss should have taken that opportunity. Still, this was Nuss's first time ever. He's 15 practices in. He just met all these guys, or he just started practicing with all these guys. It's just so hard to play wide receiver at LSU because you really have to blow people away to get to that first team spot. So it's going to be really hard, Poe, for Alex Adams to find his way on the field, even though I am kind of interested into why they didn't keep him at safety. I just think, and this is the thing I also didn't get, if Devonta Lee was playing linebacker, why move him back to wide receiver where you're deep? And, it's strange. I would also like to see Alex Adams on more special teams, maybe as a gunner or whatever, but it's going to be fascinating to see if he actually even gets his chance. He had 1 catch for 6 yards last season, and that catch was against Vanderbilt. As far as the offensive line is concerned, Poe, we'll see what happens. I think for me is, I go back to this, and I know Reed agrees with me on this as well. I want to see Cam Wire on the starting lineup. Look, his Auburn game got a little rough. So what? It's his first ever road start. I think he's better suited to play on the right side. He played better on the right side overall. And whether it's right guard or right tackle, I think he's the better option at both of those positions right now. More so a better right guard than Hines and right tackle than Deculus. So, yeah, Poe, I'm a big Cam Wire guy. I really am. So let me obviously, let me see here. Ugh. Plays better at right tackle. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting. And he says, if the O-line could get up to par, we can win championships for years to come. That's true, Poe. And yeah, it's just going to take, the whole thing needs overhaul. The recruiting, the development, the football IQ, all of it. I think he'll consider it, Cliff. I really do. So, yeah. Reed says I would start Bradford at right guard. Yeah, Reed, I'm totally fine with the revamping of that right side. I really am. And I've shared this before. Once again, it's a very harsh criticism. And I always say with the disclaimer, I hate criticizing players. These are student athletes that give their best for the team that we love near and dear. But I'm more so when I say a player needs to be replaced, it is more of a criticism of the coach not making an adjustment. And the fact that Chasson Hines never got took out last season is something that I think about a lot. And I just don't, I never understood it. It made more sense when I saw the backup offensive line in this last spring game play the way that they did. But still, I mean, they should have made the move to Cam Wire 3 games into the season at right guard. It wasn't rocket science. It really wasn't. And we just kept, doing it. I don't understand it. So we'll see. Go Tigers says, what's up, Carvis? He says, Wire at left tackle, Dare at right tackle. Yeah, I agree with you. And something else, Carvis, that's interesting. Chasson Hines put some really good left guard tape on 2018. So in 2018, as a young player, he played some left guard. And there was one block he made against Louisiana Tech that I think about a lot. It was that filthy. He really buried a human being and stole his soul. But maybe Chasson Hines is a guy that can only block in a run-based attack. Pass blocking is just so different than run blocking. It really is. What's up, John? Good to see you, man. Let's see. I don't think Davis plays around. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, Chasson had some really good left guard tape in 2018. Yeah, Michael, I don't know. And that's a question that you would have to ask Ed Orgeron. The only person who knows the answer to that question is Ed Orgeron. Because I just think at some point when your right guard is starting to cost you games and cost you points a lot, you've got to make some kind of switch. And once again, that is not a criticism of Chasson Hines. This is a criticism of not taking a guy out. Because when someone is struggling so bad, and they should have done the same thing with Flott last season. When someone is struggling so bad, and I know I've made this point a lot on live streams, but we do get new viewers. The best thing you can do is bench them. Bench them. Because when you get benched, you work harder. You want to grind and find your way back on the field. And, you should never become so loyal to any one player because then you begin to start hurting the team. So we'll see.
Babe, side note, we got to take the trash down tonight, remember?
Oh, yeah, because it's Thursday. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe Chasson Hines is a defensive tackle. Maybe he's Glenn Dorsey and we don't know it. Yeah, he is just a heck of an athlete. When you just look at him, he looks like an SEC guard. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Reed says, I guarantee you And someone asked about Daronte in the 4-3. I was going to save that for a little bit later, but we'll get to it in a second. I thought someone would have super chatted that question by then. I'll get to it in a second. Go Tigers. I guarantee you that Brad Davis won't let Deculus start at right tackle. Yeah, look. This is where you run into issues because Austin Deculus, obviously national championship starter, elder statesman, a lot of experience, also a member of the leadership council. And that's the danger. This is why, I've always said it's always better when your best players are leaders, because if your best leaders are guys that may or may not need to be on the field, and it's better to go to someone else, I think Deculus should still start at right tackle or right guard. I think he's heard the criticism, and I think he's working on his game. But then again, you go back to the spring game, and it's just it wasn't, a great showing. Yeah, Carvis, it's interesting. I'm really high on Dumerville. Yeah, Reed, I don't really care either. But that's not the question. That's not the point I'm making. The point is, it's harder when you deem someone as a leader, and it's better for that leader to not play. So we'll see. So Dumerville's a very nice prospect. So, he comes out of St. Thomas Aquinas. What do we know about St. Thomas Aquinas? Well, the Bosa brothers and quite a few NFL players have come out of there. So super high Marcus Dumerville. His dad is a loyal viewer of the channel. Okay. And, I did the spring game film study, and Dumerville was not great. And there was one, series, and once again, full disclosure, none of this criticism is personal. It's just, the way I see it. There was one series where he just had two really bad whiffs. He whiffed the linebacker when he was pulling. That was not a difficult block. Then he had a 4-eye technique he allowed to get inside of him, and that sounds so weird, but it's true. And he got blown out, and it was a huge sack by Eric Taylor and Max Johnson. That series wasn't a good look. And that's partially on James Craig. When Marcus Dumerville came out, I jumped for joy. I was like, wow, we need offensive linemen. He was a late signee along with Philip Webb. And, it just hadn't worked out just yet. I thought Dumerville would be ready to play by year 2. I do think the new coaching is going to help him out. I really do. And I don't know what it is. James Craig just had so many of these 4-star offensive linemen that just never really turned the page. One thing I saw consistently from the offensive linemen in particular was they really struggled. Sometimes inconsistency is just inconsistency. It's just, you're good on some plays and you're bad on others. Sometimes it's mental lapses. And sometimes it's you're not in shape to play a 60, 70 snap game. And with the pandemic and the pace that LSU tried to play, when you play all those plays, it gets tough. It gets really tough. So obviously, I'm an LSU fan. I want this offensive line to figure it out. It's just, it's going to take a lot, Bo. Yeah, it's interesting. LSU's trying to get that's a very interesting comment. LSU's trying to get another tight end for the class of 2022, which makes sense if you view Jake Johnson more of a receiver, getting another tight end. So we'll see. Yeah, they're trying to get 2. I know that they tried to get the kid out of Nebraska for this last cycle, and it didn't work out. They were able to get Jalen Sheed. So we'll see. We'll see. I know they're trying to get another tight end for 2022. But yeah, there's no reason that all these 4 stars are not ready to go. Okay, it's mind-boggling. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And that's the thing, Esteban. A lot of it is just personal. And, some players just mentally or physically, it doesn't work out. It's the LSU, the environment they're in. Some players just need to transfer and get a fresh start. I hope no LSU players transfer. That's not what I'm suggesting. But it does get a little difficult. It does get a little difficult when you start getting into which offensive linemen should play and which ones don't, because obviously we're not at the practices. So all we're basing this off of is a spring game. But yeah, it's really hard. And then what happens to a lot of offensive line coaches is they say, okay, well, this unit struggled this game, but offensive line is a position of chemistry. So I don't want to shuffle the offensive line because we want to develop chemistry. And if we're shuffling guys in and out, this might be the game that they figure it out. And my bottom line, this is just how I feel. When a player is struggling, you've got to bench him. So we'll see. Ed Ingram's health is going to be really, really huge. But yeah, there's no. Marcus Dumerville is really good, but I might be wrong on my evaluation of him. And then this is just based on the little bit of high school tape that I had at my disposal. But yeah, we'll see. He came from a great program. He's obviously got a great family. I know I'm biased because they watch our content. But yeah, I just think at some point, you had to move on from James Craig, and hopefully Brad Davis is the answer. But yeah, so go Tigers. I know you want to talk about 4-3-3-4. It's in the title. So here are my thoughts on it. Okay. I do think you can run a 4-3. Don't get it twisted. But you do have to switch a few things up. And I think, there were so many issues with the LSU defense. Obviously, they lost some really good players. Then you're trying to change the scheme. But I go back and look at some of the just downright crazy things that I saw from players and coaches. And, I thought a lot of the guys that returned to the team last season really let LSU down. They just weren't as good. Some of them were they didn't cover as much ground. Some of them were a little thicker. And obviously with the pandemic, that's going to play a large role into it. But that didn't help. So the first thing is, the 4-3. Obviously, when you're changing the drastic change of a scheme like that with an outdated coach and communication. But I also think the 4-3 could be a little bit outdated with what the schemes in the SEC that the coaches run. So, for instance, I was listening to an interview recently with the guy who has really transformed the thought process behind different defensive techniques. And his name is Brandon Staley. He just became the new head coach of the Chargers, and he was with the Rams last season. And the Rams really switched up defensive philosophy. So they were coached by Wade Phillips for a long time, and Wade Phillips, of course, was a fantastic defensive coordinator, but they still decided to go to Brandon Staley, and Staley was incredible last season. Now, obviously, it helps having Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, but his schemes were innovative. And what he decided to do was generate formations that didn't have loaded boxes. So he oftentimes played with the light box. And I was listening to an interview he did recently, I think with Pro Football Focus, and he said one thing is that offenses are running more motion. And if you have so many guys towards the line of scrimmage, it is really hard to read motion pre-snap. And what I saw consistently was LSU, when they defended the run, was not fast enough to keep contained in the running game. And these jet sweeps, these motions, they can really off balance a defensive line. If you have 4 guys that are all defensive linemen, it's really hard to keep up with motion. Such as a play that Missouri really killed LSU on was just these little handoff sweeps. And if a wide receiver is going at full speed and they take a handoff, they kept getting around Ali Gay, and we kept losing contain, and then it started spreading us out, and then we started committing more guys to the box, and then they started hitting us over the top. And then when we started to widen out, it opened up our backside B gap, and then they started running through it at will. Obviously, that's just a Missouri game, but a lot of teams kept doing that. And when you run a 4-3, it's I don't know if that's the scheme that's going to stop all these Dan Mullins and these Lane Kiffins with all these innovative screens and whatnot. So it's, it comes down to this. Do you have the defensive tackles and the defensive linemen that could make plays? And, Carver's touched on it there. But last season, LSU's defensive tackles were very inconsistent. Now, obviously, Jaquelin Roy has an excuse. He's a true freshman. But LSU's defensive tackle play was not great last season by any stretch of the imagination. Glenn Logan, I don't know what happened. He fell off a cliff. Neil Farrell made a last-second decision to play. His body wasn't ready. His body looks better now based on what we saw in the spring game. That was a big issue. Ali Gay was very hot and cold. He had some elite games. He had some other games where it was, So, yeah, obviously the second year in a 4-3 is going to help out. But I go back, here's the thing with Daronte Jones in a 4-3. And, the linebackers are also inconsistent, which is a good point. I think a very underrated issue with LSU's defense last season was identity. Okay, so and we'll get into Daronte Jones just for a second, but one point I want to make is, and this is going to sound wild, but LSU's best linebacker was a linebacker who didn't like to tackle, and Jabril Cox. And their best safety, who was not great last season, but Jacoby Stevens, was a safety who didn't like to cover. So we had a linebacker who played linebacker who preferred to cover instead of playing the box and getting physical. And we had a safety who didn't like to cover deep, but loved to get physical in the box. And you saw their weaknesses get exposed, okay? A lot. And I mean a lot. And overall, we just weren't fast enough at safety. So, yeah, and that's something that needs to get fixed. They moved Jay Ward, who's obviously can cover a lot of ground, to safety. We'll see how Todd Harris does next season. So that was a big issue as well, identity-wise. And Damon Clark was playing a brand new position. He was a situational pass rusher in 2019. He just can't read gaps. It's something he can't do. I hope he can do it, but it's just not his strength. It's just strength. Sony Fadu is a ball. You're right about that. Is EJ Gibson walking on at LSU? I'm not gonna lie, and EJ Gibson is. I just don't. I'll always say I'm always honest about not knowing someone. So I just don't know. But Sony Fadua put some good tape on in that spring game. I would like that. I would like that as well, Nick, as well. And you know what would be interesting is putting Damon Clark. He actually rushed, and this sounds strange, but he actually rushed pretty well out of a 3-tech last season, or in 2019. He generated some pressure when he was lined up at defensive tackle. There was a bull rush he had against Texas A&M that was filthy. But yeah, So, I look at that and I do think, and it's wild. It's really wild to think about. But you look at Daronte Jones, I go back and someone tweeted out a thread on this, and I was looking at it, and I went back and looked at the games that Daronte Jones coached with Dave Aranda. So this was Daronte Jones the last time he was in the college game. So he was at Hawaii, and then he was at Wisconsin, and then he spent all these years in the NFL. So he was with Cincinnati, and he was with Minnesota, and then he was obviously with the Dolphins. And a lot of those teams, of course, run 4-3s, or they run, a lot of variants, pass rushers, ends, whatnot. But what's interesting was, a lot of variants, pass rushers, ends, whatnot. But what's interesting was the Wisconsin defense didn't have a lot of star guys, like high star guys, but they had a lot of really good players, and they played really well together. And that was one of my favorite defenses to watch because they were so gap sound. And the one thing that defense did a great job of is that they didn't make a whole lot of these wow type of plays. They did, however, do something that seems a little weird. They did a good job of not allowing offensive running backs or just ball carriers in general, offensive players, to run their offense at full speed. And what I mean by that is they did such a great job of making a running back have to make decisions with the football to where they weren't just running downhill. And if you go look at the 2020 defense, I want you to look up this little detail. Part of the reason why the LSU defense was so bad last season was they didn't offer much resistance. Okay, and I know that sounds strange, and, of course, well, they put up a lot of yards, so whatever. But what I mean by resistance was they gave up so many easy yards. So wide receivers would be wide open down the field. Running backs would not have to stop and decide, are they going to cut back or not? They would just run simply through the gap, or they would run around the edge at full speed, not have to slow down and cut back or slow down and allow a block to develop. They were plant and go. And what I like about a 3-4 defense is the 3-4, it is so hard to just go downhill because your three interior defensive linemen, your ends and your nose tackle, are gumming up those A's and B gaps. And it's really hard to get downhill. Whereas with the 4-3, if your defensive tackles are getting washed out every play or they're getting trapped, and sometimes the defensive end for LSU would wrong arm and go under a pulling guard, and sometimes they'll just play it straight up. It was very inconsistent to where I don't even think the LSU coaches knew. I don't think even Ed Orgeron knew or Bill Johnson what Bo Pelini wanted them to do. It just became a mess. I just think with the 3-4, gap responsibilities and all those things get a little easier. That's just how I feel. It could be that we need another year of the 4-3, but I just think defending pre-snap motion is easier in a 3-4 compared to a 4-3. I think just responsibilities in general are easier in a 3-4 than a 4-3. That's just how I see it. You look historically at the NFL, we have a pretty large sample. Brian Burke did this. Defenses that made the switch to a 3-4 put up more negative EPA, which is good. I don't know. We'll see. But let's go to Nick's point here. I do think Daronte Jones is getting innovative with this, okay? So you go back to the spring game, and you could see this in our film studies. So you'd have to watch the full thing. I don't know the timestamps or whatever. What I saw Daronte Jones do that was really innovative was LSU, the biggest weakness of the 4-3. That is just, it puts your defense at conflict. And we'll get to what you're saying, Alan, about the Saints have done a decent job running a 4-3. What really puts defenses at conflict is the backside B gap. Oh, thank you so much. Got a punch?
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So what happens is that backside B gap, if you don't have defensive tackles that can get off blocks and make plays and linebackers that could sit in gaps, you're toast. You are toast. And LSU just didn't have that last season. Particularly, I just don't know what happened to Glenn Logan. I know he sat out the first 2 games. We don't know exactly what happened. But Glenn Logan was pretty solid in 2019. Then in 2020, it was just, I don't know. I don't know what happened. But, I saw Daronte Jones do this a lot in the spring game, where on 2nd and 10, he did it the first 3 times the offense was in 2nd and 10. So when they would throw on first down and there would be an incompletion, Daronte Jones did something really smart, okay? He decided to kick his defensive end into a 4-eye technique to hold that backside B gap. And I thought, okay, that lets me know Daronte Jones is really digging into the film, because that's where LSU struggled. The Missouri game was a great example of this. They hammered, and I mean hammered, the backside B gap. They were pulling guards through it, guards, tackles, ends, and they just kept hammering it. And Orgeron, Bill Johnson, and Pelini just never adjusted to it. So what Daronte Jones decided to do, and he showed this in the spring game, was he kicked those defensive ends inside, and it was just the weak side in, to defend against it. Okay? Just sit in that gap. We need you to sit in that gap. Now, LSU never really ran on 2nd and 10, ironically, in the spring game, but still, it was very interesting to see. That drink holder is made of colored asbestos. Are you talking about this one? So Cade Cunningham's going to be a Piston. A 4-3. Yeah, they had Jordan and Trey Hendrickson. And those guys are really good players. And Sheldon Rankins, even though he's not great, he's solid. And Onyemata is also really solid. Saints had a really good defensive line. And Cam Jordan's really good. Now, he's had some rough playoff games. They're playoff games. Those are random. Cam Jordan's just amazing. He's just flat out amazing. Watch what all he does during the course of a game. He's just a perfect 4-3 defensive end. He's fast. He's strong. Highest football IQ in the game. It's ridiculous. And look, he didn't have just this crazy athletic score coming out of Cal. He's just a really good football player. So, do the Saints have some Trey Hendricksons and Cam Jordans? We'll see. Or does LSU have that? And then, so Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa. And that's very interesting, Carvis, you bring that up. So obviously Myles Garrett is just fantastic. The other 2 guys are as well. So Joey Bosa, for instance, and we'll get back to LSU, but this is a good example of this. So Joey Bosa is one of the best players in the NFL, right? And, with the Chargers, they weren't that good. So Brandon Staley comes over, and Brandon Staley's a defensive guy, and he runs this innovative 3-4. So we'll see, because Joey Bosa is a 4-3 defensive end. We'll see how he plays, because they'll put him at 4-eye some, they'll put him at in some, they'll put him at standing linebacker some, they'll put him as a 3-tech some. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Dude, this is crazy how many of you are in the military. That's so cool. You got to meet Cam on deployment. That's so cool, Kenneth. Yeah, I've met Cam too. He's such an interesting guy. I'm such a... Yeah, Nick, I think that's part of it. And Ed Orgeron, I mean, look at the guys Ed Orgeron's coach. He's coached, Cortez Kennedy. He's coached Warren Sapp. He's coached these defensive tackles that are playmakers. And, I just don't know. I just think the value of the defensive tackle. What's up, Marcus? Good to see you, man. And this is Marcus's, I promise you, this is Marcus's favorite thing to talk about. So we'll stick on this topic. Thank you, Marcus. Obviously a big super chat there. So we'll obviously stay on this topic. Obviously, LSU running the system in year 2 is going to be better. Obviously, Daronte Jones sees some of the weaknesses in the 4-3. We already saw it in the spring game. That was very encouraging for me to see. It's a very minor thing, but just shifting that weak side in into that B gap, or LSU just got hammered. So we'll see. We'll see. That shows, and Allen, in theory, that is being multiple as well. You can run 4 defensive linemen and just do some 3-4 principles. One check that I would do, and this is just me, is if I see, I'll just do a film study. It's kind of hard to explain without, the film or whatever. We're doing a lot of recruiting film studies right now, but before the season, we're going to do a lot of defensive film study about what I think the LSU defense is going to look like next season. So yeah. I do think LSU will be multiple though. So once again, everyone show Marcus some love in the chat. Stepping up, big drop 50 burger, man. I better see some love for Marcus. There you go. Mo Funky's all. I'll tell you, Mo Funky is like the most supportive person on this channel. I really do I believe that to be true. I'm not going to continue until I see some more love for Marcus. Marcus and Carvis, I do have to say this, Marcus and Carvis, they're bros. They're like real bros. Yeah. When Carvis is done with this PhD, we're all going down there to the party, to let you know. And Carvis is paying for all our travel. Shout out to you, Carvis. I know Carvis has my travel taken care of. I know you do. 25 cases of Zima. So Marcus says 425 should be our base. Also, I do think this is true. Okay? And this goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago. So, as far as a coverage linebacker is concerned, we might not ever see a coverage linebacker as good as Jabril Cox. What was it? Pro Football Focus had him for 342 coverage snaps, some crazy number, or he played 342 snaps and he had 0 defensive penalties, which is absolutely insane. Okay. All right. So we had all these crazy stats from Jabril Cox. And then we had 2 pick sixes. We had the pick 6 against Mississippi State, and then he had the pick against Arkansas, which he returned to the 1. And then he had the big pick against Ole Miss, which was obviously really freaking cool. And I look, he's good. He's really freaking good. The only problem, though, was Jabril Cox, like we mentioned a second ago, just couldn't tackle. He just didn't like tackling in the run game. It just wasn't his thing, and I totally get it. Now, Jacoby Stevens, and look, I think it's safe to say this now that Jacoby Stevens did get drafted. I don't want this to become an anti-Jacoby channel. He was so great in 2019. He really was. I'm not sure if it was better than Dell in 2019, but he was good. He was really good. Okay. However, Jacoby Stevens was not the safety we needed him to be in a 4-3. You need two safeties that can cover ground. And instead, we had two safeties that couldn't do that thing. Bo Hampton wasn't as athletic as I thought he was going to be. Obviously, the Pelini Bush concoction there wasn't the best. Going from Miranda to Pelini is bad. But still, he wasn't good. And then Jacoby Stevens was a problem. It was a problem. So, yeah, I think Jabril Cox and Jacoby Stevens, obviously, I think Jabril was a big loss considering how good of a coverage linebacker he was. But I would be very interested in and obviously Marcus is right. We're going to be in a 4-2-5 most of the time. I would be very interested in a Bug Strong Mike Jones linebacker pairing. Or here's how I really feel. And I don't think this is going to happen. I would love a Jared Small Mike Jones linebacker pairing. Okay? Who that? Who wants a Bug Strong? So in the chat right now, as I eat this cracker, who in the chat right now? Give me your linebackers you want on the field, okay? Because linebackers in the LSU defense historically don't get rotated out that often. So give me who. We'll go level by level. Baskerville and Jones, I'm fine with that too. That's true, Marcus, but who's a power team on LSU schedule? Not named Alabama. In other words, here's something else you got to ask. You look at LSU schedule, UCLA is not a traditional running team. They like to throw the ball, okay? And then you factor in Florida, they're not going to run the ball. They're not going to line. Florida's offensive lines are never – Mullen's offensive lines, they've always been decent. Last year, their offensive line wasn't great. Ole Miss certainly is not going to do that. Arkansas is not that kind of team anymore either. I don't mind being small. I don't. I don't mind running a small defense. Okay. I don't mind it at all. And I know it sounds strange. But yeah, and if they start running on us, put Bug out there. Jared Small's an Isaiah Simmons player. I wouldn't look. If there was a Clemson fan watching this, they would say the same thing when you hear comparisons about Tyrann Mathieu. Isaiah Simmons is kind of one of one, right? He's kind of his own little thing. He wasn't as good as Tyrann, but he was really good, really athletic. And I don't think Jared Smalls is that kind of player. I think he's a little more, I think a good comparison to Jared Small would be Perry Riley. Just overall, just a solid LSU linebacker. We'll see. I'm very interested to see what he's going to do. Brendan Caldwell, our resident Golden Band from Tigerland member, Brandon Caldwell. What's up, man? What's the status of Baskerville? We'll see. Alan, that's a good comment right there. And I think Marcus, you and I discussed this privately, how different the players look now. So you say that, Alan, 10 years ago, the linebackers weighed 250, 255. Now they weigh 210. Look at LSU's defensive ends. When we won that championship in 2007, we had some thick ends. Thick. Now, they were athletic, but they were thick. You remember our 2007 defensive end rotation? It was Tyson Jackson, Kirsten Pittman, really solid players. And then we had Tremaine Edwards coming off the bench. Thick, number 47. So, yeah, and then eventually our ends, in 11 were just totally different. It was Mingo, Montgomery, and LeVar Edwards. And we just got so much thinner. Even though Edwards was a little bit more of a Pittman type of end, but still. The big swagoo, of course. Who could forget about the big swagoo? Devin wants to do 42, 250. Yeah, I agree with that. I do think the defensive ends have changed more than the linebackers, though. Offense more about moving the point of attack than getting there fast. It's the offense to do more spread space and to get numbers at point of attack. So defense has a priority to get there. Yeah, different coaches have different philosophies on that. I would consider Kiffin a guy that's so good. Kiffin is so good at attacking spaces that you give him offensively. Mullen is just so good as well as creating numbers. The success that LSU or Old Florida had on us offensively was when Mullen was just creating numbers. There was a touchdown screen to Tony to the left side of the formation. It was just simply him outnumbering guys. And, different offensive coaches have different philosophies, but I do agree with that. So much. And when you look back in retrospect, you begin to really value a guy. Let's say, this was a guy that was really concerned about coming out of LSU was Kayla Von Chasson, where, as a traditional pass rusher, he had 6.5 sacks his last season at LSU. So that's a traditional rusher, like in the way like a Von Miller or a Nick Bosa gets their sacks. They just get their sacks by beating an offensive tackle. Whereas Kayla Von Chasson, his value was that he could just cover a lot of space. He was really good at processing a play, and he would just run down so many tackles. And then he'll give you, his Oklahoma game is just so phenomenal. He'll give you an occasional big rush. And yeah, you begin to value someone like him a little bit more now that you look at LSU last season when, they really struggled keeping contained in the running game. One thing Chasson just automatically did when he was on the field was you're definitely not getting around him. He was so fast. He had such just high energy. He was so great. So we'll see. Marcus says, our offense should be the same, though I'm mildly concerned that we don't have a lot of role-diverse individual players on offense. I agree with that as well. And what he means by that is, you look at the one thing, and I know we talk about 2019 a lot, but, the 2019 team has a huge impact on what we're going to do in 2021. It's how Ed Orgeron views the offense, and he reached out to Joe Brady and said, I want that. Obviously, we all know that we're never going to get there. It's going to be really impossible to touch the greatest of all time. It was just never going to happen. But you could try. Okay. And, Jake Peetz has referenced this as well. The one thing about LSU, when they ran that 11 personnel, you can always say this about each and every one of the 5 key guys in 11. So the 5 key guys, of course, is your running back, your tight end, and your 3 wide receivers. So Clyde, Thad, and the 3 wide receivers. Okay. The one thing that each one of those guys did was they weren't just good at one thing. Jamar could be in the slot. Justin could be in the slot. They were just obviously, those 2 guys did some things better than the other, but they were all elite at running out of the slot or running out on the outside. Now, Jefferson was in particular in the slot a lot, but he could also play the outside as well. Same thing with Terrace. All three of those guys could beat you deep. All 3 of those guys could beat you intermediate. They could beat you on screens. They were all decent blockers on the outside. Same thing with Clyde. He was so good at all these different things. Thad, same thing. Thad was a pretty good blocker, and especially when we really needed him the most, Alabama and Clemson, he was a really good receiver. And then obviously Joe could throw it to the right, throw it to the left, throw it deep, throw it intermediary. And when you covered everything, well, you couldn't sack him. He was too fast, too athletic, and just too smart. But then you look at the 2021 unit, and this is what Marcus is touching on here, is, outside of Kayshawn, who's good everywhere, as high as I am on Jeray Jenkins, we'll see how he does in year 2. Coy Moore, I really like Coy a lot. I think, the work he puts into his craft is very admirable. We'll see. He was the only receiver last season who had 15 or more catches that averaged less than 10 yards per catch. So does Coy become a better deep option? Obviously, he's mostly a slot receiver, but can we trust Coy to go down the field and make some plays? I do think he'll develop that skill set at some point, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do think Coy's really good, though. I also, like I've shared a few times, I'm also a little more open to Coy playing running back, especially in 2-minute situations where we're going to throw a lot. Also, something else I really think about a lot, whenever we're discussing the offense is, the quarterback. Even Max Johnson being mobile, is he as good of a runner as Joe? I don't know. How much danger can Max give you with his legs? Obviously some, and that means something. So we'll see, but this offense, it's just going to be hard for this group coming up this next season to be what Marcus just said, is, versatile. Exactly, Mo Funky. And you notice a guy, the player that Jake Peetz's name has been attached to the most in recruiting 2022 is Kendrick Law, because Kendrick Law is the most versatile player in this class. We don't even know if he's going to play offense. He's that good. So we'll see. Nick says Kayshawn, Chris, Coy, and Jeray. Nick likes Chris Hilton. Hilton actually fits that mold of a guy that could play slot and the outside. So we'll see. Deion Smith is a star. This is a good question from Cliff. Who is the speed wide receiver to take the safeties deep to open up the middle of the field in the intermediary routes? Okay, so obviously the first answer is obviously Kayshawn, because he can do everything. But who do you guys think? Who would be right now? Okay, who is the next best deep option? Okay, because I think based on what we saw in 2020, we probably all, the conversation I see, in 2019 was all about, it's all about, it was all about Justin and Jamar. right? But Terrace was really good too. Terrace had the dagger against Clemson, and it was a deep dagger. And then Terrace had the deep touchdown against Auburn. And then he had the coverage bust touchdown against Alabama. And Terrace was just way better. I mean, I didn't even think he would be. I mean, he was so freaking dominant in 2020. Dominant. Not just good, not just great. I mean, dominant. If 2019 had not just happened, we would have been even more blown away with what Terrace Marshall did in 2020. So, yeah, it's a very fascinating thing. Let's see. Exactly, Marcus. Part of being a burner is that back shoulder. Because a defensive back can play over the top, you got to have some chemistry for that back shoulder throw. And Allen makes a point here. Can Max Johnson drive the football down the field? Let me ask this question. How many of you feel comfortable with Max Johnson as a deep ball thrower? Let me know. Chat. Scale 1 to 10. With 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. How do you feel about Max Johnson as a deep ball thrower? Nick a 7. Exactly, Marcus. He's improving 7, Carver 6, Graylin 5. Okay. Let me know in the chat. Look up some stats here real quick. Let me look up some things here. Okay, let me look at this. Getting your responses in there. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Pegasus says, I think we overrate Max a little bit. Exactly, Cliff. Everyone, welcome Tevin. Tevin, is this your first time in the chat? Let me know, Tevin. I'll stop this. You guys know how we are. We like to make newcomers feel welcome. As we always say, stay away from Cliff. That's my only advice for you, Tevin. Graylin, what's good? Graylin, I felt bad what happened to you during the last live stream. Graylin had a good, honest question about the offensive line. Then Robert dropped in. And, the whole world stops when Robert drops in. Yeah, Marcus. Let's see. Tevin, let me know if this is your first time. I got to know. I like newcomers feeling special. Let's see. He had a hitch in his throw that seemed to hinder him. I agree with that, Tevin. You know what's interesting? And I go back to this, okay? So let's discuss Max Johnson just a little bit here, okay? First thing is, obviously, he was really good in his first 2 starts. Oh, first time in the chat. All right. All right, well, y'all know what to do. Show Tevin some love. That includes you, Alan. Alan S. is the only Cam Jordan fan bigger than me in here. You just missed some Cam Jordan chatter, Tevin. Welcome to the channel, though. Let's see. Cam Wire? Marcus, you missed it earlier, man. I went on a Cam Wire rant. I love this kid. Okay. So the first thing I'll say about Max Johnson is obviously, it always helps when a defensive coordinator doesn't have any film on you when you haven't started a game. However, there was some film on Max Johnson for the Texas A&M and Alabama and Auburn game. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing I'll say about Max Johnson is he did not have the benefit of playing with Terrace Marshall, who is, by far LSU's best receiver before Kayshawn at the end of the season. And he didn't have the benefit of playing with Eric Gilbert. Now, we did a film study a few weeks ago, and I know a lot of you cringe when you hear the name Eric Gilbert. Okay, it's time to move on. When I discuss him, I'm not talking him in particular. So you got a lot of you watched the film study, the Eric Gilbert versus Cole Taylor film study, and the film study showed you that Cole Taylor really struggled. So, Max was really playing with the skeleton crew where, he was playing with mostly true freshmen, offensive linemen going down, running backs going down. And considering everything that he had to go through in his 2 starts, where in both of his starts, the weather had a drastic change during the course of the game. Those are very important things. However, you look on a per play basis, they actually averaged less. LSU averaged less yards per play in those games than those teams gave up on the season. Now, once again, that could get tricky because Max also had a lot of drops. So really, all things considered, 2 things can be true here. Max Johnson did not have a great supporting cast. In a lot of ways, he had so many drops. He had so many protection breakdowns. He had no real running game, and he still won both of the games as a true freshman. And what also made it very impressive, and I know Tevin, I know you've been watching for a while, but you're new to this, so I referenced this a few times. Max Johnson also did not dominate in high school. He was not a dominant player. Now he was really good, but he didn't just flat out dominate. So it's interesting how good Max was in those 2 games. However, there are a few flaws. He missed far more throws in the Ole Miss game that he missed in the Florida game. Just some inaccuracies and misses and whatnot. And there is, this huge gap between Max as a deep thrower compared to Miles as a deep thrower, where Miles Brennan, is an elite deep thrower of the football. But then with Miles, you have to bring up the question, how much of that was Miles? How much of that was Terrace? Because a lot of the deep throws were to Terrace, but also a few to Jure. So we'll see. So yeah, that's the thing. I haven't, we did a Miles Brennan week. I feel like we need to do a Max Johnson week where we just do all Max Johnson content. I don't know if you guys would like that or not. The Miles week was actually, pretty successful. We had that. I know Marcus, you were there. We had that hour film, really fun. So yeah, it was fun. PJ says Nuss is better than Max. DRC, take a look at the top left corner. You'll see how long we've been here, man. I think hour 55, baby. Still going strong. Marcus dropped a super chat. PJ, I'm always winning, baby. Let's go. Super chat dues bi-weekly, $4.99. Like I always say, give what you can. Also, the super chats are what pays the rent, super chats and cash apps. And, I got to really shout out Marcus, obviously, for real. But Kedrick, I don't know if you're still watching. man. Haley and I were talking about you the other day, Kendrick. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So yeah, and then like I always say, when you super chat, we go straight to your comment outside of what happened to Graylin last week, which was pretty memorable. I'm not gonna lie, it was like one of the coolest moments on this channel. Yeah, so DRC, you got your shirt. Congratulations, man. You got that shirt, baby. Let's go. Let's go. And we actually had someone buy a shirt. Because, baby, let's talk. So, by a round, give me a yes or no in the chat. Who is going to be at what's that?
I made you some veggies.
You got me some veggies?
Yeah.
All right. Who's going to be here for the I want to shout out again Raymond for buying a shirt during the chat today. Thank you, Raymond. Obviously, hitting the like button is free of charge. That always helps out. One way you can always help out with the channel is obviously tell other people about the channel. Only tell diehard LSU football fans. If someone's just a casual sorority girl that just shows up, or a frat guy who, you know, they just care about the tailgating and Rokies and no, okay. They might go to every LSU game, but they're not diehards, all right? And I didn't mean to just typecast frat dudes and sorority girls, but you know what I'm saying. Only ask diehard LSU football fans to come on the channel.
But
what?
Where's the other headphones?
Right here.
I've had dinner.
You already ate without me?
I did.
Oh, no.
We have to get up early in the morning, so somebody's got to go to bed early so you can pack the car in the morning.
Okay. What time are we leaving?
7.
7? Sounds fair.
If we can get out of here by 7:30, I'll be happy so we can roll into Velvet Taco right at noon.
Oh, we are going to Velvet. I wish Paris was in here. But still.
That's first because I'm going to get a
swirl. And she's swirl.
I'm so excited.
But yeah, so I need to know in the chat right now is the
I'm gonna go spend some money.
Yeah, I know. That's true, DRC, she is a beast.
Who?
You in the kitchen. You're a beast. Like the freaking the garlic parm salmon the other day.
I smashed it. At the park. At the park, babe.
Oh, and then I had lemon pepper chicken wings the other day. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby.
See, don't say I don't ever do anything for you.
No, I never said that. I never.
You are
baby. Those lemon pepper chicken wings. Oh, let's go.
Love you.
Exactly. So it's as Marcus points out, and I've discussed it with Marcus before as well. The most important thing, and this is why I say this, subscribers. Jonathan was talking. Jonathan asked this question. I don't think Jonathan's in here anymore. A little bit more about my background. But before we get into that, and before we get into Marcus's comment, lemon pepper overrated? Tevin! No! Tevin, look, I asked everybody to give you a round of applause for your first ever live chat, Tevin. I might have to block you on this. And we just hit our top number, 65. And I'm happy we're at 65, the highest number of tonight's live stream. Because I've got to tell you this. You're trash for that take, Tevin. I love you. You got the best last name in the business. It just rolls off the tongue. Boom. But you do not blaspheme the best flavor of chicken wings of all time. Nothing comes close to lemon pepper chicken wings. Nothing. Let's go. I will change the name of this channel to Power Hour Lemon Pepper Chicken Wings with Carter the Power. Well, I appreciate you, DRC. Thank you so much. But here's the thing. I hope you enjoy the content. That's the most important thing. So, Tevin, I just cannot believe you just said this, Tevin. My goodness. Lemon pepper is not overrated. Okay, DRC. But you can... Okay, Tevin, I'm with you. Garlic parm is number 2. Okay? But lemon pepper chicken wings, it honestly depends on how you season them, right? So what I do is Haley, I like the full wings. So Haley does the full lemon pepper chicken wings, and then I drench them in after the lemon pepper. I put some Frank's Red Hot on it, Buffalo, and it's just the best. It's just the best. Now, I actually like restaurant chicken wings a lot more than what I used to. I think Buffalo Wild Wings is solid. Pluckers is so good. God, love me some Pluckers. So I favor Cisco from the Flash. Not thong the thong Cisco, but Cisco from the Flash. Mango habanero. Oh, Carvis, come on, please. We're better than this. Carvis, you're getting a PhD. Okay, you're smarter than me. I thought you getting this higher education would... I just can't believe this. I can't believe what's happening here. The L Duck and the L Center, some chicken wings in her bio. I think it's still there. I don't know. Yeah, spicy lemon pepper. It's not like I'm not in love. I'm fine with dry lemon pepper, but spicy lemon pepper that has some wetness to it, I love it. That's my stuff. Yeah, I need it spicy too. So I think there's a difference between spicy lemon pepper and regular lemon pepper. Anyway, before we get back into the chicken wing conversation, I do want to plug this tomorrow. We do have our Walker Howard film study dropping tomorrow. The link is also down below. I'll also drop a link on this tomorrow. And the thing is, this live stream I recorded and put together from this weekend. So let me go on ahead and copy this link address. And this is a good thing. You can go to this link and you can set a reminder for it to remind you when it drops at 5:30 Central. And here's the thing. I'm not going super long on the Walker Howard film study. I feel like our film studies can get a little lengthy. So we're going to break it up into 2 parts. So part 1 of the Walker Howard film study is going to be on Wednesday, barring a breaking news story of colossal nature. Would you guys like a part 2 Walker Howard film study on part 2? Mo Funky, I need you tomorrow. I need you tomorrow at 5:30, Mo Funky. I need you. So who's coming to the Walker Howard film study tomorrow? 5:30 Central. And here's the thing: if you miss it, you can go back and watch it. It's just like our normal premieres. Okay, DRC says I don't know who Walker Howard is. You will know. Okay, so y'all want So do y'all want a part 1? Okay, so you want a part 1? Do you guys want a part 2? Okay. Let me know, because I started editing part 2. Marcus has friends in town. That's fine. You can always watch it just whenever they go to bed. It depends on Marcus. What kind of friends? What are they LSU football fans? They'll be here. Okay. Yeah, Walker Howard. So this link, you can click it and you can obviously reserve your spot. You don't really follow recruiting. So you know what's funny, DRC, and that makes sense because a minute ago you said you didn't really like the content from you didn't say you didn't like the content. It's just not your thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, DRC. when I first got to LSU, I was so anti-recruiting. And I still kind of am to a certain degree. I think we spend too much time chasing after one player. Nick, I think Nick is still in here. Nick is like a recruiting expert in here. He follows everything. That's just not me. I keep up with everything. Obviously know about him. I read what 247 and Tiger Details puts out there, and Rivals and Tom Lanning, whoever. But I'm not one of those guys that calls recruits, calls coaches, and it's just not my thing. So yeah. Yeah, you see, Nick keeps up with everything. So I on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as being a recruiting fan, on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as being a recruiting fan, I'm at a 5 or 6. Now I understand that I post recruiting content off season. It's just what you guys want to watch. It's just based on that. So I understand DRC, you not knowing who Walker Howard is, because guess what? That's probably not the wrong viewpoint on recruiting either. Why should you follow something that only matters when they actually sign pen to paper in February, which is true. Yeah. And that's how I am too, Marcus. I like to develop my own opinions. And there's obviously some recruits I like a lot, and there's some recruits I don't like as much as everyone else. For instance, I'm a little bit higher, and it's not the cool thing anymore to be super high on Emery Jones, because he's through the roof. I think Emery Jones is really, really freaking good, like really good. But that's just how I feel. I was also a little higher on JoJo Earl than most last season. I thought he was the best wide receiver in the class, same with Alabama. So, there's some guys that I think are 5-star level guys, and then there's other guys that are 5 stars, and I'm like, I could live with or without them. But yeah, Alan, it's ironic. Walker has some Joe Burrow to him, and notice I'm not saying he's Joe Burrow, but he's got there's some things that he does that remind you of what Burrow can bring to a spread offense, or what he can bring. So yeah, obviously when he gets here, I'm definitely not going to call him Joe Burrow or whatnot. Yeah, he's good. Walker Howard's really good. Really, really good. But we'll see. The one thing I notice is when I look at recruiting from afar, I look at what are the kinds of players that we need as the game continues to evolve. And the way I view it now is and this is how I feel about the current class. So DRC, you probably don't know a whole lot about the current class. So LSU has 11 commits right now. They have 1 defensive tackle committed in Tyji Hill. I'm fine with that being the only DT to commit. Now, obviously, if Walter Nolan decides to come to LSU, you take a transcendent talent like that. But I don't think LSU needs another DT. Number one, with recruiting, it's important to get guys that can help you in some way. So with the defensive tackle, a defensive tackle can potentially flip and play offensive line. But if they don't work out, they can't really help you on special teams. So that's a bummer. I just think the future is, and this is something obviously LSU does a great job already. And Nick, we touched on him a little bit earlier, like getting these Azariah Thomases, getting these elite defensive backs from out of state. There's a lot of value in that. I think Azariah Thomas is also very underrated. Now, this is obviously very limited film study. I just learned about him a week and a half ago. But there's a lot of boxes that Azariah Thomas checks, and he fits in really well with what Corey Raymond wants to do. So take Azariah Thomas, plays a lot of press man, also plays a lot of wide receiver, understands route concepts, high football IQ. You can see it. Great route runner, quick change of direction, elite athlete, long. He's just checking all these boxes. That's a very valuable asset. And, it's going to be key moving forward in recruiting. Who are the guys that translates to what you need to do at the next level? So there's obviously some quarterbacks who you view towards the future of football. Walker Howard does a lot of things that quarterbacks need to do as the game continues to advance. So obviously, he has the elite arm. He could throw it anywhere. But the one thing that you'll be consistently blown away by, and this was by far the most impressive thing about Walker Howard's film, is this dude's pocket presence. It is so hard to develop pocket presence, especially when you are a first-year starter. So last season was Walker Howard's first year as a full-time starter of St. Thomas More, which is a really good program. And it's just ridiculous, in his first year starting. And to have the game he had against Catholic High, which obviously is an elite program, and third game of the season, it was hostile. It was loud in that stadium. He just balled out. He really just balled the freak out. Now, the senior film is going to be very interesting. And we'll touch on that a little bit more in part 2. But I really am a harsh critic of a quarterback's senior film because there's so much that goes into your senior film. There's a lot of more there's some complacency that can check into senior quarterbacks. A lot of senior quarterbacks are already committed to a school before they start their senior season. Most are, actually. And, you could start looking ahead where quarterback is such a mentally taxing sport. It requires a lot of focus. You can't just, sleep through meetings and then be ready to be a quarterback at the varsity level, especially in Louisiana. Obviously Walker Howard has an elite work ethic. I think he's going to have a phenomenal senior season. But it is going to be his junior tape just really blew me away. Based out of the quarterbacks that LSU currently has, and this includes Nuss, and Nuss is really good. Walker Howard's ceiling is higher. I think, after the film study on Wednesday and then on Thursday, I think you will come away with the same thing. He's really good. He's really freaking good. Yeah, Alan. Alan, I hate to do that. I hate to, compare legends to current players, but there's a lot of burrow to him, and his arm is just more talented than Joey B's. Now, of course, that's just in terms of strength. But Joe still has plenty of arm, plenty of accuracy, and how you develop and your knowledge of the game is obviously very important. And Alan, I agree with you. So yeah, DRC, obviously, the offensive line is this is my concern with the offensive line recruiting, that Brad Davis is just going to become so infatuated with recruiting that I think and obviously I don't know what Brad Davis's day-to-day is going to be, but obviously we got to recruit a lot better there. And when you recruit offensive linemen, for those that played, I didn't play collegiately. I played in high school. However, your offensive line coach is probably your most important assistant that's not a coordinator. They're obviously paid a lot. They're oftentimes the highest paid non-coordinator assistant. And your OL coach is just so huge. So an OL coach has to be involved with the recruiting. But the issue for Brad Davis is that the recruiting not only has to get fixed, he still has to grind through all this LSU tape and make his own personal evaluations of what he thinks the offensive line is going to look like. And the thing that I'm concerned about, what's up, Yokuva? Good to see you. And Tevin's right. We are recruiting a lot of these elite guys, even though Tevin doesn't like lemon pepper. It's going to be key. It's going to be really key. Is how much autonomy is Brad Davis going to have on the offensive line? And, how that's going to come down to what Jake Peets and Ed Orgeron wants to do. I think the best case scenario for the current group is to obviously, let Brad Davis make his own choices, but also rely on Jake Peets because he's been around the team a little bit more. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be so interesting, especially considering Brad Davis is making so much money, and I'm happy he is. But this was interesting. My mom actually sent this to me earlier today, that the president of the university is making $700K a year, and he is making $130,000 a year less than the offensive line coach, which is wild. Alan, that's a good question. Can he steal some of the 4 stars from Arkansas? I hope so. Yeah. We'll see. Yakuva, what's good, man? So we do. Oh, yeah. Me and Banks, man. Let's go, Kelvin. Let's go. Come on, Kelvin. Be the first offensive lineman to get drafted in the first round since Alan Faneca. Let's do this, Kelvin. Let's go. You could start your own legacy. It's kind of weird because I do think like a Lyle Collins type of talent would get a pretty huge fan base following at LSU. I really do. It's ironic because a lot of my offensive line content kills. At first it didn't, but since the James Craig thing happened, I think a lot of you are really excited about Brad Davis. So yeah. Yeah, it's true too, Marcus. So yeah, I think Pete's are going to go out together. So yeah. Let's see. I didn't really follow any of the other sports tonight. Let's see. Oh, is playoff P balling out tonight? Is this what we're doing, PG? PG-13? Oh, you're going to bed, babe? Yep. What time are we getting up? We still got to get those to-go coffee cups. I might go to the Murph and I might go to the Murph and come right back. Sun's up 1.5. Okay. Yeah, it's true. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. Let's see. So yeah. We'll go for about 5 more minutes. I'm getting a little hungry. I have a great feeling about Davis. You do, Graylin. I'm not going to lie. Dylan, new to the channel. Oh, God, Dylan. Okay, Dylan, you're new to the channel. Okay, Dylan, you're new to the channel. All right, so everyone give Dylan a round of applause. Tell him welcome to the channel.
All right, guys, next time you see me, we'll have a new dog.
New dog Saturday night. Who's going to be here Saturday night to see the new puppy?
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody better be here Saturday night.
Sorry, I just did my skincare.
So, Dylan, before everyone gives you a round of applause, what is your favorite flavor of chicken wings, Dylan?
Oh, I'm out.
You're out?
Yeah.
I know.
Love you.
Love you too, babe. All right, Dylan, tell me. Yakuva, I'm actually really excited about that. All right. Dylan says he doesn't eat chicken wings. My goodness gracious. Dylan. Okay, I'll say this, Dylan. It's not as bad as what Tevin had to say about my dear beloved lemon pepper chicken wings. I know it's not for everyone. Them chicken wings. You know what's interesting? Okay, so I go to, all right, and this is just a side note. All right, I go to ESPN.com, okay, to pick up the score. But then I'm also told on ESPN.com, I got a tweet from someone saying, go watch the College World Series final. And I can't find a link to it on anywhere. And I'm kind of shocked by that because I just feel college baseball is a growing game. I would have that like right underneath I would have it right underneath the NBA game. What do I know? That's true, Dylan. I know, Tevin. I'm a little concerned as well. Dylan Rogers a cool kid. Marcus is a cool kid. Stay away from Cliff. Oh, Micah, I like it. Hey, I'm fine with Classic Hot too. Buffalo all day. You know what's funny is, God, yeah, I love solid buffalo wings. I really do. Yeah, you're not gonna you're not gonna find many Ben Simmons fans on here, Yakuva. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a Simmons guy either. I never understood it. At LSU, and I never understood it in the NBA. If your best player is a perimeter player, he's got to be able to hit a 12-foot jump shot. It's not hard. You're getting paid $30 million a year, okay? And Philadelphia, I mean, you owe your fan base the ability to shoot a jump shot, okay? I always say this. College athletes don't owe us anything, okay? They get a scholarship. They could have gone wherever they wanted to go, okay? Professional athletes, it's a little different, okay? You're getting paid a lot of money to win games for your team. And if you know that shooting a 12-foot jumper or just dunking a point-blank ball helps your team wins, you're not letting your teammates down. You're letting everybody down, okay? Man, the Ben Simmons thing really bothered me, okay? Because you got to be able to hit a 12-foot jump shot. Okay, you just can't not shoot. You just can't. It's especially in the modern NBA. And he's still a great player, and he's a great defensive player, and he's an elite athlete. And he put up good numbers at LSU, but we didn't even make the tournament. You know, the Ben Simmons debacle kind of reminds you a little bit of the AG2 situation. Yeah, they put up big numbers, but we didn't necessarily win. They weren't necessarily the best teammates while they were at the school. Ben Simmons was always above LSU. And, it's unlike a Zion who, Zion puts in the work. You could tell his game changed so much from year one to year two. Ben Simmons, that really bothered me. It really bothered me. You've got to dunk the ball. You are failing everyone. And I understand that, it gets mental and all those things. And, I never wish mental anguish on any human being. But still, I mean, it doesn't change the fact. Oh, no, Dylan. Tevin's big time. It's just not. Yeah, exactly. It just seems as if he doesn't care. Just shoot. Spicy Cajun buffalo. That's right. So I like spicy wings as well. All right, guys, unless we get another super chat. So if you guys want to continue this, obviously, Dylan, you're new to this. If you guys want to continue this chat, I always say about 2.5 hours in, we'll happily continue. If, we keep getting super chats here. If not, we're going to go ahead and sign off. And you can watch the second half of a great NBA game or the College World Series game. Oh, God, dog it. And then Ultra at the last second. Rowan. Congratulations. Carvis, of course, we got a new dog Saturday. We'll see you then. Congratulations, Ultra. Rowan, congratulations. That's great. So, Ultra, let me know, is this your child, or is this, yeah, please do. Is this your child, or is this, we actually had Salt Rock. He doesn't come to the live streams, but he watches all our other videos. She's yours. Congratulations. So I guess this happened. This is really cool. So DRC drops a super chat, so we'll keep going until the super chat runs out. Your second daughter. Congratulations, Ultra. Yeah, wow. That's really cool stuff. Congratulations. When did this happen, Ultra? Did this just happen, or was this something that happened over the weekend? So let me know. Let's see here. My second daughter. Oh, it happened at noon. Well, congratulations, man. That's so cool. And obviously, your first ever comment, or one of your first comments, we put it on one of our mailbags. By the way, on Friday, we won't have a mailbag. We'll have a video. Dylan, thank you. So we'll keep hanging out. Yeah, Tevin, we talked about it a little bit earlier. But yeah, this is really cool. So I had another daughter at noon. That's great. Good night to Marcus, by the way. Thank you for the big super chat and your support. Marcus, one of my good buddies. Oh, well, thank you, DRC, for the super chat. I appreciate it. I'll hang out till Dylan's super chat runs out. So yeah, Dylan, the way it works, I know this is your first live chat. So Dylan, you dropped the super chat, so you get to pick the topic. And Dylan, any LSU football related question? Okay, so we'll go to Ultra here. Fresh off of being a dad. That's obviously really cool. This is good. So name our 2022 defensive backs that sign. So obviously the first thing is you want to make sure you sign the guys that you already have. So Jacoby Matthews, of course, hybrid linebacker, safety, whatever. So yeah, that's obviously a huge pickup. Then, of course, LaTerrence Welch is obviously really good, and Jadarian Rom out of Georgia. So you got 3 right there. Dylan, I'll get to that in a second. He wants to talk some linebacker recruiting. All right. Since Ultra got his question in first, Dylan, I'll get to that in just a second. And thanks again, DRC, for the super chat. All right, so those 3 are going to be big. I do think Jordan Allen finds way into this class. Now, Ultra, a lot of that is going to come down to if LSU lands, these other guys that they're getting in. So Denver Harris, if he signs, that obviously decreases the chances that Jordan Allen gets signed. If, let's say, Azariah Thomas signs, it's someone Nick is really high on. I think Azariah Thomas is a really special prospect. If he signs, it obviously, puts LSU in a bind. As of right now, I'm going to buy the hype here that Azariah Thomas signs. So that's a guy that could play any position in the secondary. Now, you have 4 guys right there. I do think LSU will have a 5 defensive back class. And this is just me throwing out a Hail Mary. I think they flip Bryce Anderson. I think Bryce Anderson sees this Daronte Jones defense and says, look, I can go to a defensive coordinator that made me a priority right when he got to school. He coached Harrison Smith, arguably the best safety of the past 5 seasons in the NFL. I want to go play for that guy. Just throwing a Hail Mary out there, and Bryce Anderson will be a part of this class. So that's Jacoby Matthews, Bryce Anderson, Azariah Thomas, Jadarian Rom, and LaTerrence Welch. That's obviously a home run class. If those 5 don't get in, Jordan Allen. And then you also got to throw in the Osbury, the corner out of U High. His brother in 2023 is going to be a big priority. I actually do think he ends up signing as well. Really good prospect, played a lot of more off coverage at U High at corner, but he's good. And I think most see him as a safety anyway. So he'll be a part of the class as well. So let's go here to Dylan, Denver Harris. Obviously, we can pray for that. Obviously, Denver Harris, his stepdad is Tack Minor, the former LSU point guard. Here's Dylan Smith here. How likely do you think we will get Perkins or Murphy? Okay, so DRC, I know recruiting's not your thing. So Harold Perkins is the 5-star linebacker. He could be the best player, period, in this class. And he could be the best player in college football. He has that high of a potential. How does he fit in with the LSU defense? We'll see. Denver Harris. Harold Perkins is more of a edge slashing end type of linebacker. He likes to play closer to the line of scrimmage. So yes, how he fits in with what LSU wants to do defensively would be interesting. I love him though. He could be the best player in this class. I really do think so. Obviously his uncle is really pushing him towards LSU. His uncle has tweeted out a few of my videos as well. I appreciate that. Mr. Inno504. I think that's his Twitter handle. I don't know. Mo Funky has shared this with me a few times. So yeah, Harold Perkins is special. Sean Murphy, a little bit more of a traditional linebacker out of Virginia. You do factor in the level of competition. Not too great. They only played 5 games in 2020, so it's going to be interesting to see a full year of film on him. Top 100 player consensus, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. Obviously, I believe he's close with Antoine Sampa out of Virginia, which that connection helps out there. I don't think he's necessarily a year 1 guy. Most players aren't. Year 2 starter, hopeful, and it looks as if things are going in the right direction there. But once again, his recruitment's wide open. I do think LSU needs to get some linebackers. So then, you look at the LSU linebacker room now. How deep is it? Mike Jones, if he has a big year, he's gone. Bug Strong, if he has a home run season, he's also gone. Jared Small is a senior, he's gone. Damon Clark is a senior, he's gone. And then you're left with Sampa. We'll happen there. And on top of that, and this is really key as well, whenever you factor in, recruiting linebackers, what do you have in Louisiana? So obviously LSU's not too deep at linebacker in Louisiana. Khalif Edwards, Javay Gilmore are the names to keep an eye out for. Edwards is starting to gain a lot of positive steam based on these camps. I like Gilmore a lot. He's more of a hybrid safety kind of guy, really light, but also very long. I love Javay Gilmore. I really do. So we'll see. Yeah. Julie Baldwin, she knows way more about recruiting than I do. So, if she says Murphy's coming, that gets me excited. That's good stuff. Yeah, it just depends, Kevin, on what LSU wants to do defensively, and how special you think Quincy Wiggins is. I don't think they're close. I think Perkins is just way better. But then again, Wiggins is still really, really good. It's just Perkins is just a home run, elite prospect. I think Wiggins is really, really good. Don't get it twisted. But when a Harold Perkins comes around, it doesn't matter what scheme or whatever. You just get him. Now, I'm not a do whatever it takes kind of guy to get him. I just think that can get you into trouble. But LSU should still put the gas pedal down on Perkins. And look, they know way more about this than I do. I drops every time I read about that kid. He's good. Yeah, Ultra, go back to the hospital. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you so much. This was a big day for you. Wow. That's cool, man. This is just crazy that This isn't the first time that happened, that someone made a baby announcement on the channel. That's cool, though. That's really cool. Yeah, DRC, we talked about Damon Clark a little bit earlier. He's a really good player, just not as a traditional linebacker. I think they should look at him as a situational pass rusher. I really do. So there you go. All right. Well, I think we ran out on those super chats. Obviously, we're 2.5 hours into this, so we're going to go ahead and sign this off, but we'll hang out for a few more minutes if you have any last-second questions. As we always do, if you do keep the super chats going, we'll keep this going. Let's see. I think we're doing chicken spaghetti tonight. Yeah, man, it's going to be a great trip. So we're going to go get – is Micah still in the linebacker room? Yeah, he's still there. So on Saturday, this is obviously really key. Getting the new puppy. We need you guys there, okay? Need you guys there Saturday night for the next live stream. Once again, if you haven't done this already, go ahead and reserve your slot for the Walker Howard film study that drops tomorrow at 5:30 Central at that link right there. Click that link and great things will happen to you. Also, want to support? See you tomorrow night, 5:30 Central. So DRC, we're going to reveal it on Saturday night. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! Special thanks to Marcus, as always, and all the super chatters. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.